Hi, I'm Francois from Production Music Live today with Producer Notes, and we're taking a look at the style of ARGY Anyma Magnus Higher Power. We are in Ableton Live only here, plus Serum, remaking this style with different harmonies, chords and melodies and vocals. 4 minutes and something. Let's have a quick arrangement overview. We start with an intro, high-passed kicks, rolling 16s bass, vocal drones and some bass stabs, and then the vocals come in with the first verse.
Baby, all my life I've been searching for somebody just like you.
And you can already see we have an arrangement structure where we have verse, transition into drop, drop, pause, verse, transition into drop, second drop, wind down. Very simple arrangement. Let's quickly skim through it.
Baby, all this time I've been yearning just to find someone like you. Now I'm left alone with my tears, yeah.
Here bass starts moving, changing the notes after having played it monotonously for the first 25 bars, and now we are getting ready for our drop where we have this call and response pattern. Leads and plucks call, FM and stab main respond.
Could you let me fall? Why'd you let me fall?
And you notice there are no vocals singing here, we just have that vocal drone in the background because now the stage is set for the leads and for those stabs, and there's not much more needed otherwise. And then we go into the break part where everything winds down.
Baby, all my life I've been searching for somebody just like you.
Pianos coming in, some organs coming in, and so on. We will have a full playback of the entire track at the end of the video. Now let's just skim through it. We have a build-up part then with snare rolls.
Could you let me fall? Why'd you let me fall?
The full drumming is playing in that drop part. You can also see that. So first we are playing claps and kicks and hi-hats, and then when the drops kick in, we put the rides on top and more open hi-hats to really make sure and have everybody understand, hey guys, this is the main part. And then we transition out of it. And then we wind it down into the outro so you can mix in the next track. Okay, let's quickly listen into the single groups. That's the drums group. Very clean and straightforward, not too groovy. We have no groove applied in this genre here. We are at 126 BPM. So that's what our bass group is doing here. In the drop or in the break, it's doing Reese. And that's the setup here. If we go to the instruments group, in the break it's pianos, pads and organ sounds. In the drop we have the ambience in the background and those leads. And in the transition we have a bunch more pads, the mellow one and the high pad. This entire project file is part of the Melodic Techno Sound Pack Mirage, linked in the description, where we have 8 other project files here, fully arranged tracks like this one, and sample packs and Serum presets and MIDIs for each Serum preset, and also audio, so you can quickly check, hey, what is that preset about? Okay, and who are ARGY and Anyma? ARGY is a Greek DJ and producer, released music since the mid-2000s, mix of deep, groovy, soulful vibes with futuristic soundscape, released on Pokerflat Recordings, Cocoon, later on Afterlife. I made a video on his sound before, I'm linking that up here. Matteo Anyma is an Italian-American DJ and producer known from Tale of Us, co-founder of Afterlife Records, born in New York, studied sound engineering in Berlin. His 2023 album Genesis includes collabs with Grimes and Camel Fat, and his style blends visual technology in those big shows with art and music. Magnus is the singer of the track. And so by reverse engineering this style, we're trying to see the track through the eyes of the artists, learn the thinking behind the style so we can pick up some tricks and techniques for our own music, learn the rules first so we can break them later. Quickly checking out what the return channels are doing. We have a long reverb on return channel A, and we have an echo 3x3 ping pong on the return channel B, and our master features a compressor, saturator, and a limiter. Nothing too crazy, just so you've seen it. And let's take a look at the kick setup now in our drumming. We have a top and a body. And the top kick is basically just this clicky element here, just a transient. And then we are trying to, as we have the reference track, sort of reverse engineer the tail or the body of the kick. And in this case, we are using Serum to do so with the analog BD sine wave. LFO1 controls the level with this shape, so we can really shape the exact length of the sample or of the sound. And LFO2 controls the coarse pitch, so how are we pitching down to get this kick sound. And if you go to the matrix, you can see how they are wired. If you're messing around with it. It's kind of like this kick plugin from Sonic Academy, but you can also just do it in Serum yourself. And envelope 2 here controls the effects and the mix knob of the distortion. So there's our perfectly shaped kick body, and now together with the top, we have exactly what we need, and we actually also saved that one to the sample pack that's included here, which is that sample. Claps shaped and layered as well from Melodic Techno Volume 2 Academy samples here, 4 of them, to get the exact right mix of sounds. We want this fat sound, and we need some top end. And we need some body and more. Clap body here, 3 claps and some snare-like sounds, and all together layered. We're running that through this return channel here in the clap position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 and 4 are the clap position. And then we go into our cymbals already. We have open hi-hats in the 3rd position. So if we just listen to those together with kick and snare, it's a very simple and clean setup. We have 1 open hi-hat here, combined with, so we get a nice fat sound. And make sure you don't have samples that are too long. This is our offbeat hi-hat, and the length will then later in the drop parts be controlled by the ride sample that sits on top in the same position. whenever you choose to play it. And as we have already so much information in the middle, we just keep this one to the top end of the sound. Okay, accompanied everything by 16th hi-hats, closed ones. We set it to 16th notes. You can see no wheel velocity play here. In this style, you're very basic in your setup, and we have another sample with the same pattern. One is more for the mid info, and this one is more for the high info, and we even put an auto pan on it to sort of move it around your ears. Simple crash sample next to it. And we even cut off the beginning of that one here. Sometimes it comes with the second one that sounds like this. This one has the transient from the Premium Volume 1 drum pack series from PML. All the sounds are from PML samples in here. Just using those libraries. And I forgot this reverse clap here, or reverbed clap, which is a clap sample with a bunch of reverb on top, right before the drop. So that's our basic drumming that already works. Now let's take a quick look at this ear candy percussion thing here. Super cool sound. It's a percussion sample, and then we are just sort of playing, what is that, 32s with it. These kinds of elements are always going to be interesting ear candy for your tracks, and then you vary it. Super nice. And the last, and I think they're, by the way, layered with the stab. Yeah, with the main stab, with this one here. So let's play them together. Yeah, they support the sound there, but they would also work on their own as interesting ear candy. And in the snare parts, we just have 3 different snares that play our snare rolls. So this one, and that one for the top part, and this one is sitting below everything. So 16th notes, and here we are building it up. And towards this end, we also move up the frequency of our auto filter. We get in a low cut here, so it feels like a fade to gray effect towards the drop. Okay, so these are drum sounds in this track. Pretty straightforward. Don't make it too complicated, and you can keep the simplicity when you go over to your bass sounds, where we have the rolling bass. Here, done with Serum, saw, rounded to square wave, and ICANN has kick wave table. And here it's really important that you sort of get the length right. These sounds should not be too long. And we are just playing one voice for both of these wavetables. And then we are rolling off some high-end glue compression on top. And this one is if you don't have, like, we are in Ableton only here plus Serum. So we don't use the LFO tool or, you know, shaper box or something. So we're doing it with this, ducking the shaper and the utility. If I'm turning this off, we're playing octaves of G. We're in G minor. The key of our track. And then we're playing E flat major. I'm going to G minor quickly. You can see that, E flat major, and then we are playing F major after that and back to G. super powerful bass, very simple, very straightforward, superb sound. That's exactly what you need. And you can see it's just the sound. It's almost no processing on it here. And on top of that, we are playing the same pattern, but not in this part. We are playing it here. So again, fat ducking on top of it. And it's just an octave higher. And this one is playing several voices to, you know, widen the sound a bit. And in this case, it sounded as if the original just had it on the right side. So that's how we reversed engineered this one together. Can hear that very well if you're on headphones. And well, we have respaces here in the break part. Just quickly skimming through those. You need one voice in the low. And then if you want to widen it in the perception, you enter another bunch of wavetables that have 8 voices here, for example, and they are widening the sound in the higher frequencies. So you have a nice res. And now we can already go over to those stab sounds here. We have 2 different ways of setting it up. Basically, this FM bass group does it on different tracks, and the stab group does the layering within an instruments rack. Now, there's no right or wrong here. You can do it however you prefer setting this up. But in the FM group, you can already see there's one sound that has slightly different midis. So in this case, it would be a bit more complicated doing that in an instrument rack. So we are doing it in a group. And the first sound is this FM bass here. So 2 sine waves, and we're picking up FM from B. So we're using this as frequency modulator on this wavetable to sort of get that FM feeling. It's really crucial to figure out the right position. Just a bit of distortion on top of this sound, and then we're running that through a ping pong delay here as well, but pretty feedback set to 50%. Same MIDI setup, and that's just the the transient that we need on top of this FM sound. If I'm quickly opening up Serum here, we just slightly move into a different position and shorten the decay. And then we put a redox on top to make sure that thing really cuts through. And that's the call response, that's the response pattern to the call pattern that comes from the lead drop. Let's go into the stab one. Now this is also super nice ear candy for all kinds of purposes. You have 14 voices here in the unison in oscillator A with the saw wave, and then saw rounded to square in the second oscillator. But basically, this type of setup can sound nice in all kinds of tracks. You know, then have you this longer delay tail behind it, ping pong 4x4. That's how something starts sounding interesting. Also in build-ups, for example. Yeah, so very cool sound. Here is Serum. Let's go over, take a look at the stab sound. These are the midis. And when it gets real fast, we are in 32 notes. And now again, lots of layers here, but that's really, you know, the key to getting the sound right. Now you have this instrument rack, so these are grouped 5 different elements, and then behind it we have this mid-side EQ that really cleans up the sides, as you can see in that gray line down here. Mid tries to stay out of the mess a bit in the middle, and then we have one EQ affecting everything, and this is, yeah, has to be looked at the end when mixing everything, and a bit of saturation on top of the sound. Now, what are the single ingredients? So we have this one here, surprisingly long decay time. And a second one, which is this one. That one is more plucky. So going through distortion and dimension expander or hyper, and EQ already cleans up some of the low frequencies here. And why does it sound so FM style again? Because again, we are taking frequency modulator from wavetable B and throwing that on top of our saw wave here. And then we are taking off the high frequencies. Okay, next step, element layer, is a noise. That also helps making this thing cut through. So it's organic AC hum 1, and we're just shaping the filter, making sure it's nice and plucky. And step 4 is another FM element here. We will bypass this and see if we can hear the difference to the other one. And step 5 is, and this one adds a bit of fluff around everything. Okay, let's play them all together. Taking 4 on and off. Yeah, well, if you need to save CPU or something, you might also be able to get rid of number 4. I think it's a subtle difference, but can't really promise to be able to hear it if I'm not allowed to look at the screen. Always a nice challenge, by the way, if somebody's saying, hey, I can hear the difference, then play it A-B and have them look somewhere else, or do it with yourself, because we're also very good at lying to ourselves. Instruments group. Here let's start with the lead. Yeah, so we are in G, G minor. That's why our root is also G here. And we're working our way up to the 5th. And then briefly we go down to F. And again go to the 5th from F. Looking at the chords in a second, let's take a look at the sound first. So again, we have a layered type sound here, and we have different elements. We have the body, which is lead 2, which if we just solo it sounds like this. And most of the time, if you're writing your track, you probably just use this sound and you think you're good to go. You have a saw and triangle wave mix here, one voice and oscillator B, 4 voices, so bringing in the width. And now to sort of then really make a difference in your mix and make it sound more professional, you then layer in an octave higher, a second lead sound. But you'd probably think, hey, I don't know, is that really necessary? Do I need that? And then you even layer in a noise. So instead of just playing this, we're adding two elements that do this. And combined, this is what results in a fat sound overall. Somebody forgot to turn back on the sidechain. Let's play that again and just play the mid one. You can kind of feel like it gets a bit of a hard time to cut through. If we add in the noise, and add in the higher, 1 octave higher element. And what's also interesting, sorry I'm stressing this a bit, if we listen to just the mid part, we can't really turn up the reverb on this too much because we're going to start to blur into other elements, but we can turn up the reverb a bit more on the upper one. And sort of move that to the center back and create a bit more width on that sound by doing that. A bit more room to the sound. Okay, below that we have this pluck drop. Very simple setup, just quickly 4 notes going up. And it's a pulse wave mini. And the Matrix C64. Okay, so these are our drop lead elements. We have an ambience pad sitting behind that. Just playing G minor. And then we're playing the 5th an octave higher. You don't really need a lot of pad information here, especially if you have a drone behind it. There's your setup already. And let's quickly take a look at what else is playing later. We have this pad mellow. And there's our chord progression. We have G minor. And that's our tonic. And then we are going down 2 tones. So we have a 1, 6, 7, 1. Because this is our first chord in G minor, in the G minor scale. This is our 6th chord. E flat major. But not playing the 5th here, we're playing the 7th on top. So we're holding D constant. And then we are following with F major behind that. And again, we are missing the 5th. We are playing the 6th in that chord, and then we are playing another G minor chord. It's easier to see in our high pad here, if I'm quickly going into this one. G minor, followed by E flat major, I'm bringing this up an octave. You can see the major chord here. Again, putting the scale in for simplicity. If you bring that up, there's your major chord. Here's the next one. Here. Major third, minor third, and then back to the original chord from the beginning. So what are the sounds here? We have this pad stringy thing that sort of has a bit of wobble going on in the positioning here. Messes around with our oscillator B. And another one then messes around with the cutoff. You know, super quickly here. Adds in movement to the sound. On top of that we had this high pad, which is just pad strings. And it's very subtle in the background. A lot of voices bring it up and turn down all the frequencies you don't need. And then we have the mellow one in the middle. Longer attack time on that one. Yeah, and that's how you get to these sounds. On top of that, we have this analog lead sitting. Playing the root and the fifth, and interplay between the fifth and the sixth. Adding in a bit of tension here. So, playing it together. Yeah, below that we have our effects group. Exhaust, noise, impact, downlifter, the typical samples you're probably already very familiar with. And then in the vocals group we have a bunch of chops. Which we're already playing in our intro part here. But we also take them out the minute we want to play our phrase here. We take the chops in the background out. We just leave the drone.
Baby, all my life I've been searching for somebody just like you. But you left me without a warning, and the red turned into blue. Baby, all this time I've been yearning just to find someone like you.
Yeah, that's the vocals group. Nothing too crazy. We recorded this line here and then it gets a bit of compression and then a bit of cleanup here in the EQ, as you can see, taking out some lower mids, emphasizing a bit on the higher frequencies and sending it through a longer reverb, and then also sending it through the return channel here on top of that as well. And just taking a quick look at this texture here in the beginning. Also a nice vocal texture from the Vocals 2 pack by PML, and all combined we are ending up with this. Okay, so what are the key takeaways of this style? You need a very clean and surgical drumming here. You don't really need too much groove. It's basically very programmed. You sort of build up a kick that's still short enough to leave room for nice rolling basses that you can then put below it, and you have an octave lower playing it in sort of one voice, and then, you know, more detuned, more voices you can play on top of that an octave higher. can make all kinds of tracks out of a setup like this one. And now the decision falls with these FMs and the stabs that we are going into this more Afterlife type melodic techno here. And yeah, these sounds are, as we saw, layered together out of different sounds. And the FM sound can be achieved by taking the FM from the other oscillator and applying it on top of your shape, usually starting with a sine wave from B. But if you have these stabs, usually you also have something that calls them, and that's this lead here in this case. And in order to make this one cut through nicely, you add in an upper part, a noise, and a mid part. And all together. And in your break part, you can enter a grand piano or something, so you have this more natural vibe in there.
And baby, all this.
Oh look, we forgot a note. Huh. So that needs to be F. Okay, and there's an organ here. There you go. You also have an organ together with the piano. It quickly sounds more organic, and then it goes more into electronic parts back again. And typical effects on top of everything. And then if you have a nice vocal line, you can throw it in like this, but really make sure that your arrangement makes sense. I have a verse, I have something that leads into the drop, I leave the vocals out of the drop and let the instruments do the job, and then I repeat that, and then you already have a song. Now, I hope you enjoyed this little session here. Feel free to check out the Mirage Melodic Techno Sound Pack for this project file. 7 others, big sample pack, big Serum preset pack. This is absolutely killer stuff. If you want to learn more about how to produce melodic techno in a start to finish course, check out our Melodic Techno Start to Finish Academy. PML 324 is the product code. And if you're interested in much more stuff like vocal packs, for example, that are being used here, and you can always drop into your tracks to have something to build around, sample packs like D Premium Volume 1 to 8, our drum series. And if you're saying, hey, actually, I'm interested in all of that, you can also take a look at the PML Everything Bundle, which is a great, fantastic deal. And regardless of what you do, by purchasing one of those packs, you're supporting our work and the videos on this channel as well. So feel free to check that out. Leave a comment below what you want to see next. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and I'll talk to you again soon. And now we have a full playthrough through the entire track.
Baby, all my life I've been searching for somebody just like you, but you left me without a warning, and the red turned into blue. Baby, all this time I've been yearning just to find someone like you. Now I'm left alone with my tears, and I can see the final truth. Every tear belongs to you. I became